Hey everybody, Chris here again. Welcome back to the channel. Always good to have you with us. So in a past video, I showed you text messaging from MS-DOS. Today, I'm going to show you how we did it. But rather than using real hardware with hard to read monitors, we're going to do this in a virtual environment. So take it away, Virtual Chris. All right, getting started. So first of all, I will say there are some preconditions. And those preconditions are that you have a Raspberry Pi set up with SSH enabled and the Pi hostname set to ChatPi preferably to make the procedure easier to follow. Fear not, I have not left you out in the cold. There are directions on how to do this and you can find them here. Furthermore, this entire procedure that you see here listed will be linked to down below in the description where you can find it. So step one is we're going to install Prosody on the Raspberry Pi. And things do get a little bit interesting. Let's start with the easy step. So the easy step is to do a sudo apt-get install Prosody. And you can see here I have an SSH window open. You can use SSH remotely if you'd like. You can also use SSH directly on the Raspberry Pi console if you'd like. But in my case, I'm using PuTTY for Windows. Let's go ahead and install Prosody. With Prosody installed, we have some decisions to make. The key thing that we need to understand is that in order to use an XMPP account with the MaxS Android client, it has to be in the form username@domain.suffix. The suffix is critical. As such, we need to make sure we create an environment where the suffix is supported. Not all routers are going to automatically append a suffix to local devices on your network. So I'm going to show you how you can handle this and how you can test to see the best method that's going to work for you so that we can accomplish this objective to have a suffix on the name of your host. So let me pull up a DOS window, and what I'm going to do is ping ChatPi. And you'll notice that it comes back with this chatpi.lan. You see, I have Google Wi-Fi, and my Google Wi-Fi actually appends a .lan onto the end of all hosts. That makes things really easy. However, I recognize that all routers do not do this. So, another option that should work is you should be able to try ping chatpi.local. And here we can see that we get a reply. In theory, all routers should support this, but there may be cases where that's not the case. Well, as such, I've outlined a third option. So to review, the first option is your router will go ahead and have some sort of a suffix for you. In the case of Google Wi-Fi, it was .lan. The second option we talked about was the .local suffix, which should be supported. However, if neither of those two work, you can try this third option. And it's basically to cheat a little bit and make up your own suffix. And to do this, we just have to make sure that we update everywhere where we would otherwise be accessing this XMPP server that we're about to install. So that would include Etsy hosts on Linux. That would include the Etsy hosts on Windows if you're using Windows. And on the Android device, it will also result in some special customization, which we'll talk about later. But it's critical that you have these items configured for the third method. So for this method, I just chose LocalNet as an example. You may wish to choose something else, but that's an option too. Now, there's also a fourth option, and that is if you're more advanced and you want to make this available outside of the four walls of your home and your local network, you can use a service like afraid.org and do some dynamic routing. If you want to do this, I figure you are already experienced in this area, and I'm going to leave that as an exercise for you. Though, do feel free to reach out if you get to a point where you get stuck. I'll certainly help you where I can, but we won't be covering that today in the video. Okay, so what I'm going to do for the purposes of this video is go with the happy medium approach. I could take the easy way out, but I want this to apply to you as best as I can. So I'm going to use this .local example. As such, my Pi name will be chatpi.local. chatpi.local. So anywhere where we see your suffix in the directions, we are going to use .local. So with that out of the way, the first thing we're going to do is update the Prosody configs. So I'm going to copy this nano command over. And if we scroll down to near the bottom of the file, or do a search if you're smarter than I am, and I'm sure you are, you can change the virtual host setting to be chatpi.suffix. And again, we're going with .local. So now that's all set up. And we can go ahead and do a Control X to exit, followed by Y, and enter. And now we're all set. Okay, so next up, we get to create some accounts. And we need basically 2 accounts to get started. First of all, we need an account for ourselves. And second of all, we need an account for the Maxess Android client. So for myself, I'm just going to create an account called Pi. And of course, we do have to use our virtual host suffix. So I'll go ahead and paste this in here. And keeping in mind that we went with the local suffix in our case, we will do a .local. And then we can put a password in. I'm just going to use 12345. That's what I use on my luggage. And we're all set. Okay. We also need to create an account for that Maxess Android client. So I'm going to go ahead and do that at this time because we're in the neighborhood. And I'm just going to call it Maxess at chatpi.local. And once again, you can make this whatever you'd like. Excellent. Same password. Don't tell anybody. All right. So next up, we get to have some fun with certificates. And I don't know if you've ever created a certificate and signed it. It's not a particularly easy process, but once you get it down, it's fine. In this case, we get to cheat because Prosody has this nice command that's going to generate a certificate for us. So we can enter sudo prosody cert generate, and once again, chatpi.local. And we're going to be prompted with a series of prompts. Just press enter. There's the easy button for cert creation. Perfect. Okay, so now we need to add the certificate settings to our Prosody config. So I'm going to go ahead and edit the file once again. And we'll just scroll down to the bottom where our virtual host is set. And I'm just going to put the lines right below it. So we have this little SSL block here. And similarly, we need to change our suffix again. So the suffix is going to be local again for us. And if you do that, change it for both the key and the cert, we can do a Control X, a Y, and an enter, and we'll be all set. I guess I could have fixed the indentation, but it doesn't matter. All right. So with that, we can go ahead and restart the service by doing a sudo service prosody restart. And I guess it couldn't hurt to do a sudo service prosody status. And it says it's up and running. I can't imagine you'd have a problem in the world, but it couldn't hurt. So that's Prosody. So next up, we're going to install BitlBee. And BitlBee is basically an IRC to XMPP gateway, amongst other things. And there is a reference guide if you want to see it. But quite frankly, it's literally this easy. So we've done our sudo apt-get install BitlBee. BitlBee is installed. We can now go ahead and proceed to restart it. So if we want to go ahead and add BitlBee to the startup process, we can just nano this etcrc local file and come to the bottom right before this exit 0 line and paste in the same command that we used to start it up manually just now. Except for the sudo. You don't need that. Perfect. So that's it for BitlBee. So next, we're going to have a look at installing Maxess, which is an XMPP service that acts as a client to XMPP servers. And one note, we have vetted this procedure on Android 9 and 10. The procedure does not appear to work on Android 11. Perhaps there's some updates forthcoming to the Maxess application, but just be aware. So the first thing we need to do is import a certificate from the Raspberry Pi to your Android device. So what we're going to do is actually copy the certificate to a location on the Pi where we can access it and then use an email client to get that certificate to our smartphone. So Back to the shell here, we can do a sudo copy. In this case, it's going to be var lib, and then it's going to be prosody chatpy, I can't see in this directory, .local, .crt, and I'm just going to copy it to the temp directory. And from there, we're just going to change permissions on it so that we can access it. There we go. All right, so with this, what we can do is launch a web browser on the Raspberry Pi, and I'm virtual here. And from there, we can use a webmail client. In this case, I'm just using the RetroTech Chris email address. And from there, we can go ahead and compose a new email to ourselves. And we will attach the certificate. So to do that, in my case, I do choose file. I can go to that temporary directory. And there's the certificate. Excellent. Attach for me. Then OK. And I will send the message. Hey, we have one new message. Perfect. So now what we're going to do is go to the Android device and we'll launch Chrome. I can go to my webmail account over here. And logged into my webmail, we see our one unread message. I can click on that and click on the attachment. Boy, this is hard to read. I am sorry. Let's see if we can make this a little bigger. It's a little better. Let me make it a little bigger still. Anyway, there's an attachment here, and I can click on it. And it's going to download it. And then we're going to get this pop-up right away where we can name the certificate. You may be prompted to set up security on your device, depending upon what sort of device it is. In any event, you may also be presented right away to name a certificate. So I'm just going to call this chatpy and click OK. And from there, it says at the bottom that chatpy is installed. There was a little toast at the bottom. And now we're all set. Perfect. I'll go ahead and close Chrome. And we'll proceed. So the next thing we need to do is install F-Droid, which is basically a package manager that will help us get the MaxS packages to our Android device. So I'll open up Chrome again. And we'll go ahead and navigate to fdroid.org. And we can click this download F-Droid. And then OK. And from there, we should be able to look at downloads, just looking at our recent messages here. And I'll go ahead and click on this. I think I might have hit download twice. All right. And now we can click on the APK. It's going to say, hey, wait a minute, you can't install this. We don't trust Chrome. So go to Settings. Click this little tag here. Come down to the bottom of the screen and hit the back button. And try again. With that, it is installed. I clicked open. We are now in the application. And give it a minute for the cache to load. Okay, so sometime later the cache has refreshed. We can click on this green search icon at the bottom right of the screen. And let's just search for MaxS main. Now, you're going to be very tempted to install the list of modules you see down below. Don't do it. You have to install MaxS main first. Okay. So similarly to downloading from Chrome, we have the same problem with F-Droid where we have to go to Settings and we have to say, trust me, and then use the back arrow to go back. And now we can install. Great. So let's click on Open. And now MaxS main has launched. First thing we're going to be greeted with is the need to set some permissions. Go ahead and proceed. Allow access. And we'll also see we have some permissions integrity problems. We're probably okay. So at this point, now that we've launched Maxis, I'm actually going to hit the back button and go back to F-Droid. So the next thing we're going to do is install a list of modules that you see below here, starting with Contacts Read and working our way down. So here's Contacts Read. I'll download it, install it. And then we've got Phone State Read down here. We've got SMS Notify. We've got SMS Read. SMS Send. SMS Write. And then we've got the transport itself, transport XMPP at the very bottom. Great. With everything installed, I'm just going to hit the home button here and we'll go back to the main screen and we will find MaxS main, which is here somewhere. Here it is. We can see the permissions are not okay, so we'll click here for details. And we've got all kinds of permissions we need to grant. So click through it, come down to the permissions, find the permission that's denied, and I'll change it to allow. And this is going to be different depending upon the version of Android you have. Something to note, this does not automatically update and will not update until we come back into program for the next time, so just keep going. It took. We can see this one has 2 permissions, so let's grant that as well. And if you forget where you are, like I often do, you can hit the back button and exit the program and come back in. And then you can see a lesser list. I actually tried just a minute ago to just hit the home button. Not going to work. You actually have to exit the program. That's something that could be fixed in the future, but that's the way it is today. So we'll grant these guys as well. All right, let's see where we are once again. Hey, what do you know? It passed, so we're all set. Excellent. Now I do see a problem here because at this point under MaxS main we should have a transport and we don't. We can come up here and click on the modules list and we can see there are no modules. We can try the Discover Components option and hey, lo and behold, now everything is found. So sometimes you have to play some tricks and I found that Discover Components tends to fix things. If not, I hate to say it, but you may need to start over. And if you're on Android 11, this is the exact problem I had. So that's why this doesn't seem to work under Android 11. Let's go to modules. And lo and behold, it looks like our modules are there. So that's good as well. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's good. So we're all set there. We have successfully made it through that part. Let's go ahead and configure. So the first thing we're going to do is add a master address, which will be the address that we can interact with the Maxis application with and send and receive messages or issue other commands. So this can be found by clicking the More button. I actually have that in the previous step. We click More. We can then click this whitelist just so that we can actually not be sent into doze mode as well. So go ahead and click that and then allow. And then from there we can add a master address by hitting the plus button up here. And it's going to be pi@chatpi.local. Click Save. And we also need to add a device account, so I'll come in here, and that's going to be maxs@chatpi.local. See why we need that suffix? If we don't put one in, it doesn't allow us to do what we want to do. So we need a suffix. All right, password is going to be what I have on my luggage here, so let's put that in and click the Save button. Perfect. Let's also go into advanced settings and turn off hostname verification just to be safe. We'll go back again. Let's click the Start Services button and hold our breath. And lo and behold, we have a problem. So I'm actually going to update the directions. But you see these steps where we say we had to create our own suffix? Apparently this may also apply depending upon your network configuration if you're trying to use the .local concept. So what we're going to do is go into More and go into Advanced Settings and check this Manual Service Settings and click the Manual Service Settings below it. And for the host, I'm going to put in just ChatPy like you see here. And for the XMPP service name, I'm going to put in chatpy.local. And then from there, if we go back and we click Stop Service and Start Service, it works. So the only other thing we may wish to do with XMPP is go ahead and change some of our advanced settings so that XMPP starts on boot and on opening of MACS. So if we go into advanced settings, we can go to the Start Stop options and turn these two options on. Great, we're all configured. So the final thing we get to do is actually configure the MS-DOS IRC client. And to obtain that client, we're going to use the most excellent MTCP application, which is available at this link. And rather than go through my setup procedure for this, which I've done in the past, I'm just going to point you there. You can see this link here. If we open up this tab, you can see that's the procedure. And what we want to do is configure a tcp.cfg file as well as a config.bat file. And you can skip the telnet and FTP steps if you'd like. This will get you what you need to do. And with this procedure, we're going to augment tcp.cfg and add 3 lines. So let me go ahead and change into my MTCP directory here. And you can see my tcp.cfg configuration. I've also got a packet driver set up. I can go ahead and show you that as well. In autoexec.bat, I'm using the PCNT packet driver since I am using VirtualBox, and it uses an AMD PCNet adapter. But you can see my configuration here, and that we've added a nickname, a username, and then just a standard name to the MTCP configuration. So with that, we can type config to set the environment variable that we need, and we can type IRC junior and then chatpy. That will load up the IRC client. Now from there, we need to identify ourselves, so we can type identify, but actually we need to register because we haven't registered in the past. So I'm going to type register. It's going to prompt us to use a username, and I think my alias is me, and I'm just going to give it a password that matches my luggage. The account has been successfully created. At this point, we can add the pi at chatpy account to associate with this account. To do that, we will say account add, and I'm going to call it just Jabber. You can call it what you want. Pi at chatpy, and then our suffix, which was local. And that is now associated. And we now can set a password for it by saying oper pi at chatpy.local and provide the password. Excellent. And now we can just go ahead and activate that account by saying account on. And we can see that immediately the MACS user wants to be added to our chat channel. Let's say yes. Perfect. From there, we should be all set. I think we may have to do one more yes. And now that user has joined the channel, and we can start to send and receive commands. So let's go ahead and try and do 2 things at once here. And I'll launch the Android device, and let's open up the messaging program. I know this is a tablet, but it's really a phone as well. So from there, we have the messaging set up. So let's go ahead and send a message. To do that, we would say message, and we're going to send this to MACS. We want to send an SMS message. Send, pick some sort of a contact, 2 spaces, and a message. It's now going to send it. If we come over here, we can see that that message was sent out. Let's send another one. You can see it very small print here at the bottom. Sorry about that, guys. I thought that using a tablet would actually be a good idea, maybe it was a terrible idea. So once again, we can say message max S, SMS, send 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This, 2 spaces. This is a bigger test. And you can see that shows up. Now we can also get a list of the past 5 messages sent by doing message max S, SMS. It'll give us some information there. And in theory, we can also receive an incoming message, though I've had varying degrees of luck with this. Let's give it a shot. So I'm going to come over to the Android tools here and come down to the phone tools, and we'll just hit send message. Android is always a sweet treat. We can see it showed up here, and with a little bit of luck, we'll also show it here. It took a little while, but eventually it did come through, and we can see that the 650-555-1212 account did send a message. Thank you, Virtual Chris. Appreciate you taking us through that today. So definitely give this procedure a try. There may be some parts that are a little difficult to get through. Leave some comments below, and we'll do our best to use the collective knowledge of the community to get past the rough parts. I know it's not going to be perfect. After all, I wrote the procedure. Certainly consider subscribing to the channel. There's more content to come. Ring that notification bell and you'll be notified when that new content's available. If you like the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If not, feel free to send me a strong message by hitting that thumbs down button twice. That's it for now. Can't wait till see you till next time. Bye now.